This is Real Country, broadcasting from the home of the Piedmont Healthcare Clock Tower stage. It's WAME, Statesville.
It's time to fire.
Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
their racing roots.
Now here's our host, David Hamm.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm. And today's show, we got a big show lined up for you because we got our good buddy Darin Russell in with us again. Actually, he was with us about 2 years ago, but it was so much chaos, so much going on. We were actually at a 15-foot scaffold and cars going by, lots of traffic and everything else.
Wasn't you raising money for the troops or something?
7 days for the troops.
Yep.
We had Scott Burns there with us as well. So, yeah, there was a lot going on. And old Phil Cavalli was with us that evening. And but we're going to talk to him in just a minute, but we're also going to talk about North Wilkesboro because Bryson went.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet it was. And we'll ask you some questions about that. I got a few things to ask about it because I haven't been there. Well, I went there about a year ago whenever they had the open house. You were there too.
Yeah, we did. It was a Wednesday night, I think.
Yes, it was.
We came back.
We had to come back for the show Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And of course, I got my lovely wife Tracy here with us.
Yeah.
Yes, and Darin just got to meet her for the first time because she's scared of heights, so she wouldn't go with me last time.
Been too crowded anyways. Y'all are crowded with three up there.
We were like in a little tent.
I know.
It was comfortable.
With a porta john.
Yeah.
Well, it was below us, but still.
Yeah.
It was cozy though. I mean, Scott
I
does
think
it
at one
upright.
point we did have some storms rolling in, which was going to be a little bit hairy.
Sketchy.
But, yeah.
Yes, but, good stuff there. But it's good to have you back. Great to have you back.
Thank you.
Now you're a retired man.
Yeah. Living more of a normal life. Been on the road for 23 years in NASCAR, and I loved every minute of it. But got a 10-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, so it was about time to hang it up and have a little bit of a normal life.
Yeah, good for you. You get to spend a lot more time with them.
Yeah, it has been good. They've been loving it. We've been doing a lot more. We've done more in the past 4 months than we have in the past 4 years, really. So we're excited. They're excited.
Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Yeah. My list of stuff I have to do is probably longer than my arm trying to check them off. But
yeah, because you got your own business now too.
I do. Yeah, we've been staying busy with that dumpster business for construction sites, for household cleanouts, really any project that you have. So it's been keeping us busy. This area right here is growing so fast that we're very fortunate.
So if someone needs to tell us exactly how that works and how they can get a hold of you.
So my business is called Rapid Removal. We have 30-yard roll-off containers. We have 20-yard trailers, which have rubber tires. Those we can get in tight spots. They don't tear up any driveways. Just a all-around good trailer to have. And then the phone number is 704-507-7833. You call us up, we'll drop it off. You let me know where you want us to place it, and then you fill it. Either text me, call me when it's full, ready to be swapped or finaled, and we handle it. So with 23 years in racing, and even before that when I was younger working on a farm, we work hard. My guy Jason, he's 5.5 years retired out of the Army, and both of our work ethic is top notch. So we try and take care of our customers and do the best we can.
Tracy, don't get any ideas. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about a dumpster and you can throw stuff away.
Actually, I wasn't, but
Okay.
that's a good idea.
There you go.
I was actually thinking you kind of sort of jumped ahead.
I did, but it's. I wanted to talk about his business though. I mean, we go into that first because it's an important thing to know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
understand.
don't get any ideas because I have a lot of stuff.
Oh, just wait.
She'd have a field day with a 30-yard roll-off in the driveway.
We're going to need like four. 4 of them.
I don't think so. I mean, that's
Yeah,
all
I
stuff
do.
I plan on using someday.
Yeah.
Someday, yeah.
Here's the deal. All that stuff he collects, when he's no longer here, I'm going to have to figure out something to do with it.
Where am I going?
You're going to see Jesus and your daddy.
Wait a minute now. God. You got some other plans you need to tell me about here?
My wife was just yelling at me the other day, stop being a hoarder. I'm like, I will need that.
Yeah.
Some point I will need it. And it's the time that you throw it away that you're going to need it 5 days later.
That's what happens
happens.
to David, but still, he's got stuff that is still in boxes from when we moved in 9 years ago that he was going to unpack one at a time.
You'll need that crock pot.
Yeah, yeah, and those
how'd you know I had it?
Planet of the Apes figurines.
Oh,
You know,
you gotta keep
we
those.
really need
Yeah,
Keep
man.
those.
Nostalgic.
That's right.
All right,
So if
fine.
anybody wants any Planet of the Apes figurines, give us a holler.
They're not for sale.
They are for sale.
Okay, premium price.
Yeah, they're collector's items.
All right, so since I jumped ahead, which
You
I tend to
jumped way
do,
ahead.
what do you want to say? Go ahead and say it.
Tell us how you first got your start into racing. Like, what was your beginning roots? What got you interested?
So I was going to college in Nashville. I went to a technical high school for auto mechanics, and then I went to a tech college for basically the same thing, auto mechanics. And I did some racing back home when I was younger. Drove a race car, worked on a race car, and just loved everything. I had a passion. I absolutely loved it. So my goal was to work in NASCAR. So when I was going to college in Nashville, I came over to North Carolina during Thanksgiving. Happened to be the first weekend off, and at that time the shops were small. They didn't have the 300 people like they do now, so they would just shut down for the whole week. It was just a free vacation for everybody.
Right.
So I was knocking on doors. I had a stack of resumes. I was knocking on doors, and nobody was there. We found, my roommate and I found this one guy that was working on an outside door, because one of the employees had forgot his key, so they picked around the lock, so they didn't have to go home and get the key. So he was repairing it. We talked to him for probably 30 minutes, and I was just thinking he was a janitor. And then when he got done doing what he was doing, he invited us in, introduced himself as Mike Egg, and he ran the engine shop, the satellite engine shop for Robert Yates Racing, which
cool.
did all the leased engines. So I still had another month and a half of school left, college left. And he said, keep calling. It's going to sound like I'm putting you off, and I probably am, but at least if you keep calling, I'll be right there in the back of my mind. So I kept on calling, and when I graduated, I moved all our stuff over to North Carolina, and then I went home to Massachusetts for Christmas, and he had called me the day after Christmas. He said, hey, I think I got a position for you. When will you be back in town? I said, I'll be there tomorrow. He's like, no, stay, visit with the family, stay for Christmas and all that. So the day after Christmas, I was like, all right, Mom, Dad, I'm gone. And then the rest was history. I just started working on the engine shop, and
It's awesome.
wanted to travel. So the first few months I worked in the shop, then a tuner position opened up. So my first car I tuned on was Darrell Waltrip. And then I've been on the road ever since, 23 years later. Mm-hmm. And finally just called it quits. But actually, Penske was my longest stint. I was there for 17 years. And with me retiring out of there this past year, they actually called me the other week and asked if I'd be able to fill in for a guy that was wanting to take vacation for the Sonoma race. I said, heck yeah, I'll do it.
Oh, there you go.
Just not
There
every
you go.
week.
Right.
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, just call me if I
Just
can.
say it's triple pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can go, if I can make it happen, I said, I don't care if it's last minute, whatever you need. I said, I'll be there. I still
Cool.
want to have my toes in the
Yeah.
water, as you could say.
Definitely.
So, yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah.
So
I bet
what was your first year in racing?
2000.
2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Oh, you want me to ask my question now? I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
you're
So, I was just gonna say, I bet it felt good to go back. Did you go back already to the track?
Not since I've been out.
Not since you've been out. Okay.
No,
But you,
no.
yeah. Okay.
I would have liked to go this past weekend just because I've never actually been to North Wilkesboro Speedway. I've seen a lot of pictures. I've driven by it a million times, driving to Bristol or just up to the mountains, and I've seen it. I've seen the trees growing around it and through it, and
Right.
it was just heartbreaking to see a track with so much history that was just withering away to nothing. So I was very happy that they did something with it this past week. That was very exciting to see, but I didn't really want to deal with traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask Ryson about that in just a minute, but because I was there the last race in '96, where I was a jackman for Kyle Petty then, and so it would have been nice to go back. Of course, I got to go back a year ago whenever we had the open house, and Bryson was there with me on a Wednesday. We went, but one of my biggest things was I was thinking about how the traffic was going to be, So, Bryson, tell us how the traffic was.
Yeah, well, honestly, the traffic wasn't bad, and I was looking on Twitter here because they had a stat about the traffic, about how long it took to clear it, and I'll find it. But it really, we parked right across from the racetrack, and it really didn't seem that bad. I think this time they've spent a whole lot of time really figuring it out, because August was pretty bad. I mean, there were a lot of people didn't make it to the race. It was just a mess, honestly. People waiting in traffic for hours and hours and just not moving anywhere. So now that they have a traffic pattern, and they had off-site parking too, where a lot of people shuttled in as well, which saved a lot of people. But honestly, I don't even think that was the biggest thing. I think just the fact that they had a plan on which lots were going to leave and when they were, how they were going to do that. They held some lots, but I think it was about an hour and a half that traffic was cleared out, which is insane. But I will come back with that. I'm looking for that actively here.
Yeah, that's fine.
We always had our tracks that we just knew it was going to be a pain. There for the longest time, we had police escorts. So when we would leave the racetrack, big places like Indy, we'd have police escort, and he would stop 5 lanes of highway traffic so we could merge onto the highway and get to the airport as quick as we could.
Yeah, that was the way to do it. That was really nice.
Yeah.
This says 1 hour and 42 minutes it took them to clear traffic at North Wilkesboro.
Wow.
Which isn't too bad.
I've sat in the parking lot at Michigan longer than that.
Yeah.
A couple hours.
Yeah.
PNC.
Well, that's
PNC.
a concert, but yeah.
It's crazy there too.
Yeah.
I was going to say concerts are crazy.
Well, you think about a place like Charlotte and all these, where these big arenas and big venues and these big markets are, and they've got 4-lane highways, some even more, and they're running everywhere, and they still have a traffic issue, and you get to North Wilkesboro, and an hour and 42 minutes for a sold-out crowd is not too bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, that worked out.
Did they tell how many people were total in there?
I'm not sure, but I think the goal was, I think they were saying about, 20,000 or something. I may be wrong. I'm sure there were definitely more than that. I think in August the number was about 20,000, so I would assume it had to be more.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I hadn't seen that stat.
Yeah, we can find that again.
Which you can add more to that, because then there's just people that go to party.
Right.
that stay in the
We've got
parking
friends
lot.
that camped for the 4 days.
I wanted to do that. Dwayne and Lisa
That's what I was
Culver,
talking about, yeah.
they were at a house near there, and they were camping, and they had tickets to the race, though, I believe. And I thought about just going out there and hanging out, but I ended up doing some work instead. So I was like, well,
to save money instead of spend.
yeah, that works out good sometimes.
Yeah.
But I did see, did you get to see Presley?
We watched the race on TV
Yes.
last night.
Yeah, we watched it, okay, but it was blacked out, I guess. So there was like a watermark. Well, they call it a watermark. It was a big square right in the middle of the screen, so you couldn't see what car was. They had the
edges.
camera on, but it had the rundown on the side over here, so we could watch
cheated.
it sort of.
There you go.
So it wasn't too bad. But I did see. Did Presley Barker get to sing the national anthem?
He didn't. He was supposed to open it up on Tuesday night, and that was the night that got rained out. So he did get to, I'm pretty sure I saw he got to hang out and, still be a part of it. But I hated it for him because I know he was looking forward to it, singing the national anthem. But they moved the race that he was supposed to sing for, they moved that to Wednesday night. And so they just had one national anthem. So I was hoping they'd at least let him sing, God Bless America or something. But at least he still got to be there and be part of it.
Sing one of his songs or something. He texted me the morning of the race and was asking if I had anything. Earnhardt is what he was wanting to wear.
Oh, yeah.
I think he ended up finding him a Dale Earnhardt Jr. jacket or something somewhere.
I think I saw he had something. So.
And then the guy that sang last night, Cameron Marlowe, I met him a couple years ago.
Yeah, there was a ton of good artists, and one of the coolest things was there was a lot of local guys too. Like Alex Key was up there; he's been in here before.
Right.
He played a show Sunday, and we had Dirk Bentley there on Sunday, and then Midland and Chase Rice were there on Friday night. Which Friday night was the party. That was what felt like the real throwback, because you go down there. I had my friend with me, and we were able to. There's just two of us. We was able to kind of get down there early, worked our way down to the front, and by the time Midland was the closing act, and by the time they come out there, people were going crazy. I mean, you had guys crowd surfing, and they brought Dale Jr. out there, and everybody went crazy. So it was cool. It was just that's when it really felt like, we'd been racing a couple of days before, but it was like, man, we're back. Everybody's having fun. This is the place to be. So cool stuff.
That's what it's all about. Just having a good time. I mean, we've always had a really good time around the racetrack, and that's when I heard the big party was Friday. So everybody I talked to, they said Friday was just out of control. It was awesome. Everybody had a good time. Everybody was getting along. Everybody was just all out.
I'll have to remember that for next year. Definitely.
Yeah.
I saw, Nick Terry, the preacher.
Yeah, yeah.
I say the preacher. I mean, he's the chaplain for MRO, Motor Racing Outreach. He did the invocation before the race. Yep. So, and that reminded me, I knew this preacher one time. He rode a bicycle everywhere he went, to the sermon and everything else. When one time he came up to me after service, he's like walking around in circles. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, I'm looking for my bicycle. And I said, "Looking for your bicycle? Okay. Well, what happened to it? I think somebody in the congregation stole it." I'm insinuating his voice. Anyway, so I said, "You know what you need to do, man? You need the next service you need to have it and say, you need to preach on the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. And make sure you drive into that hellfire and brimstone. Do not steal, whatever. Thou shalt not steal." And so the following Sunday, I met up with him outside the church, and I said, "So how did it go?" Because I noticed he had a few people come down, like they were maybe confessing or whatever. I said, "Did you figure out who stole your bicycle?" He said, "Well, not exactly. I got to the part about thou shalt not commit adultery, and I remember where I left my bicycle."
I knew there was a joke behind it somewhere.
But on bump. So anyway,
Dang.
just thought about that. Just popped in
Man,
my
I
head,
thought somebody was going to bring his bicycle back.
Yeah, well, maybe they would have. but
Let alone it was a preacher.
it would have been his estranged girlfriend to bring his bicycle back to him. So
Yeah, maybe he didn't want to add that part in then.
I wasn't seeing that ending there.
Oh, my goodness.
trying to be as serious as possible,
Yeah.
I figured Tracy's like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, she says. All right, so Tracy, you got any comments coming in on our YouTubes?
We've got a bunch of hellos and just this, that, and the other. We've got Dargan Watts tuned in, Mike Bear, Leland Johnson, Dickie Dennis, Philip Riot, and Josephus and Christian.
Hey, howdy, y'all.
Howdy.
Hope y'all had a good day. I saw Philip Riot today. He brought by his 3-car.
Yeah, he said thanks for signing it.
Sign the dash. Yeah, that's
Said
the
his sons were happy for the tour.
Yeah.
You mentioned Christian. I ran into him a couple of times up at Wilkes-Barre too.
He said that.
So
Saw Bryson a couple times.
I saw a picture of you. What were you doing? Oh, it said something about, what were you doing down there? I don't remember.
no, I saw Phil Cavalli there.
Yeah, Phil.
That was it. Yeah, I saw that would have been, I guess, the night it rained. I ran into Phil. I said, said I knew I should have, I was going to see you down here, and he said, right back at you. He said, because I've seen him at Hickory a few times, and so the last couple of times I've seen him has been at the racetrack. So
Did you tell him to come visit us again?
yeah, he needs to. I told him it's good seeing him, and we missed him.
Yeah, Phil Cavalli. Remember Photo Phil?
Photographer.
Oh,
He was the one down. He was up there with us.
Yeah.
He used to have long hair. Now that's what I remembered him back in the day, with his long hair, and he had on the. It looked like it was a Winston Cup scene, but it looked like Goodwrench kind of shirts that he used to wear, the white with the black and the red and all that. What?
Button up.
Yeah, it was. And then he had his long hair hanging down with his cameras and stuff.
No, he's a good guy. I've known him forever. Just really good guy.
Yeah,
I do miss all my friends at the racetrack.
Yeah.
That's one thing is like the guys at the racetrack, the guys on my team, they're all family. And that's one thing that I do miss is seeing everybody. But I try and stay in touch. I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook and have their numbers and try and just shoot a text here and there. But
Maybe they'll
it is
throw you a
one.
surprise party when you fill in at Penske.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, and you might get invited to some of the things that they have, reunion type things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good just to stay close. And all my friends are. I don't have just one team to root for now. I can root for a lot of them. My neighbor works for Childress, and all my friends at Penske. My brother, he was at Hendrick for a long time. He actually just got out of racing too to start his own body shop. But yeah, all my friends are all in racing. We spent more time together than our regular family, so it's hard to not miss that.
Sure. Yeah.
That's one of the greatest parts about it, I believe.
Yeah.
Something that I've learned is
It's the brotherhood.
you go to the racetrack and it's, everybody's one big family.
Yeah. I even, when they were doing the West Coast races at the beginning of the year, they were leaving out Thursday just after lunch. So I had all the guys, because I'm on not too far from the Statesville Airport, and I had all the guys over before they get on the airplane and cooked some chicken quarters and had some beers. I had a light day on dumpsters, and I was done for the day. So I was like, hey, come on over to the house.
Nice.
So it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I talked to Doug Yates this morning and on the phone, and I was asking him about Martin. I mean, how it was at Richmond. I mean, Martin, North Wilkesboro. Yeah. And he said, well, it was going really good until race time, and he's talking about how Kyle just kind of took off. That's the only complaint I did hear from some of the fans, I guess, was that it was boring, kind of, especially towards the end.
Well, that's probably the first race in a long time that we hadn't seen a late race caution and then a restart, and it was, I think Darrell Waltrip might have been one of the ones that said it, but North Wilkesboro back in the day, I mean, was known for having a lot of green flag runs, and we saw that. Yeah, it was an old school butt whooping for Larson, because he just went out there and almost lapped the whole field. But as far as the passing, it didn't. From what I could see, I mean, being there, it didn't seem like guys really could pass a lot. And that I felt like in the open when the sun was still out, I felt like it was a little bit slicker and guys, were kind of bumping a little bit more. But as the track cooled down, maybe it was just harder to pass. I don't know, but I think the truck race. You talked about it before the show here. I think the truck race definitely was probably the better show. But just the fact that we had Cup cars on the track at North Wilkesboro was enough for me. I mean, I know we need to work on the short track package and stuff, but that goes for Martinsville and Bristol and Richmond and everywhere else. So it's not just a Wilkesboro problem per se. I saw some people saying that, and wondering why the racing. I guess it'd been so hyped up, everybody expected just a fantastic race, but you're still dealing with a struggling short track package, as we're always talking about. So it's not a Wilkesboro problem, but definitely room to work. And I wanted to ask you guys. I wondered. A lot of people are talking about whether they think that obviously they've put so much money into it. You'd think they're going to come back and do something there. In the Cup Series, do you think that we'll see a points race, or where do you think the home for Wilkesboro is?
I would I would hope that they would keep using it and do something more for, even if they just ran the Busch. Well, I say Busch still.
Yeah, I can say yes.
Busch cars and
whatever it is now.
And the trucks to still use it. That way they can come back. I mean, I applaud NASCAR for thinking outside the box. Ever since COVID, they've done different things that normally they wouldn't have, because they're just, everything's just repetition and it's just expected schedule, this and that. So ever since COVID, they've done more of thinking outside the box, listening to race fans, which is good, because the race fans are the ones that you really need to listen to, find out what they want. And I was thoroughly impressed with them bringing the race back. I would hope that they would continue to do something at that track. But
well, it's really good for the sport. I mean, we grew so much like as a sport. Like you look at, you start out with your tracks like Wilkesboro, which is a small market and it's not the biggest area, and then we have our, we've expanded to places like a Kansas, which puts on pretty good racing, and really like these bigger markets that are further away from Charlotte, where kind of our base. And I think it's good that we've went out there, but sometimes you can go out so much that you almost lose where you're coming from. And I think it's good to see them kind of finding their roots again, kind of going back to where they started and picking up from there and listening to the fans. I think we've seen kind of the last couple of years, recent years have been really good, but they're for 5 years back or whatever, it seems like we're definitely not at the peak of NASCAR as far as fanship and stuff. So I think it's the past 2-3 years, I think NASCAR has just had substantial growth and popularity, and just the fans, and I think they're all doing a really good job. There's a lot of the right people, I think, are in charge right now. So I think it's and Marcus Smith too is another guy, right? That's I think is doing a great job.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's right there with a lot of them thinking outside the box. What can we do different, better? And that's the other thing, is they've raced there once. Okay, now they have something to work on to try and make the racing a little better. Yeah. Whatever it is. I'm glad that a lot of people are glad that they did not repave it and they just ran the old track. And it actually the racing reminded me a lot of the old time Richmond, Bristol, where there's the one lane down low and you just got to try and give them a little bump them out of the way, get by them, a little bump and run. That's what racing was a lot of, was the bump and run. So even though there wasn't side-by-side racing, the All-Star race, obviously it's called All-Star race because you have all-stars. There's not the back burner cars that are going to be spinning out. And I mean, they are the best of the best, so you didn't have as many cautions. It would have been nice to maybe split it up and do 50-50-50 in it, but then again, we did see a lot of cars coming from the back that didn't wear their tires out so much that if Kyle didn't have such a big lead, it might have been a little bit better racing towards the end. But they got something to work on. They have something to grow with having the first race there.
Did they do anything like invert the field like they used to? Remember that? Okay, they used to, back in the day, they would invert the field.
Yeah,
that type of stuff.
Yeah,
that would definitely mix it up.
It would.
That's always the invert. We do that every Saturday night at Hickory. We run twin 40s. So the first race, the winner draws the invert. So it's 8, 9, or 10, and that's. We talk about it on the broadcast all the time. It makes that because those guys that are fast that night have to come up through the field and race their way up to the front. And a lot of the times they do, but it puts on a great race. So I think that would be a cool thing that they did. But I love the invert.
Tracy had a question from Jim Dooley.
He asked if you were doing the engine.
If I had any engines in the race up at Wilkesboro. I don't know. Bryson, tell us who was racing there this weekend. I mean, what divisions?
Well, we had it was pretty much every
smart
division of late model. We didn't have any modifieds.
Okay.
But I guess we had pro late models, limited late. No, there weren't no limited late. So pro late models, late model stocks, and then the super late models.
Okay.
And then the NASCAR guys.
Because you were there all 5 days, whatever. So yeah.
We spent a lot of time up there.
So I may have had something out there, but I don't know if I did or not.
Well, I did answer him.
Well, you guys
did you? Okay.
Do a lot for the modified guys,
yeah, we do
right?
for the modified mostly. Yeah.
Yeah.
ARCA, those types of things. So we're racing at I forgot. No, this weekend. We were off this weekend.
Oh,
on my division. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So anyway, I was going to ask you, Darin, what was your, let's see, first of all, what was your last win? What track were you at? Was that Talladega?
Talladega with Brad.
Okay.
Yep. And actually, Brad called me beginning of the year. He bought those cars from Penske. So I'm redoing the Talladega car right now for him. And try and make it all original because he wants to have that. And he's got a bunch of cars that mean a lot to him. And his last race at Penske that he won at Talladega obviously means a lot to him. So he wanted all the guys that assembled it the first time before the win to assemble it again and give our stamp of authentic. So we're doing that right now, which is kind of cool.
I got an idea for you. Take a dumpster over there and tell him to dump all the sheet metal that he don't want in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of these races, if they were made out of metal like they were, we'd have a stack. Just all the race teams that set them out front. I'll be by to pick them up Monday morning.
Yeah.
Do they do anything like that anymore? Do they cut the door panels and stuff with the new? I know it's the material is different, is it?
Yeah, it's all that composite. So they pretty much just cut it up, put it in the. Well, I think some teams will sell it to fans and stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's tore up too much, it's just pretty much garbage.
Gotcha.
Well, all right then.
There's not much money, even when back in the day with the full roll cages and everything, you might get $50 out of a whole chassis, frame, roll cage, and everything. But
okay. All right, so if you are just now tuning in, you're on the radio listening to us. We're here with Darin Russell, and he was a longtime engine tuner, and you worked at, where's the place you worked? 16 years at Penske.
17 at
17,
Penske.
okay.
Yeah, I was 4 years with Robert Yates Racing, 2 years with Hamm, and 17 with Penske.
Okay, so what was your, let's say, most memorable year in racing?
Man, I always wanted that year that people win like 7-8 races, like the Jimmy Johnson when he won all those races. But I would say one of my most memorable moments, obviously, winning the Daytona 500 last year. So took me a long time to win that race. But I would say that's probably the most memorable. And then just working with Darrell Waltrip my first year. I mean, I was still wet behind the ears, and I didn't know a whole lot and was very timid on doing things, but had a great boss that led me down the right path and teaching me everything that he knew, and just had a great career.
Which car was he in that one?
The 66 car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kmart.
Yeah.
Travis
Carter?
Carter.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we built engines for it.
That's who I was trying to think of earlier. The shop. Where was the shop?
Right off of I-40 in Statesville.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the one I was asking about. Across from, I thought it was closer to the bowling alley, but I think it was.
Oh yeah,
more,
it's only right down the road. You can almost throw a rock to it.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah.
it. That is the one. Okay. The one I was thinking of, but that's not the
Gotcha.
one you were talking about, probably. But
Didn't Front Row used to be there, right in there somewhere? Wasn't the
Yeah,
same.
they were. Yeah,
Was it the
front row
same
was in
shop?
there for a little bit. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Now there's a truck team on one side. They do those air boxes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's on the other side.
Yeah.
I know, on the other side
forgot
of
what it's
40,
called.
I think Jordan Anderson's
Yep.
over there, right?
Yep.
Back in there. I don't think you can see it from the interstate, but he's back in there off that frontage road there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
pretty cool.
That's right.
There's a couple there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So then, whenever Tracy, you have any questions coming in?
Nope.
All
No
right.
questions, but just comments.
Okay. What was whenever you were with Darrell Waltrip in that Kmart car, what was the, I always liked Darrell Waltrip growing up through the years of the Pepsi Challenger and the Mountain Dew and the Gatorade car, 88, back in the day, Diegard, whatever. I liked him through all those years and then to the Western Auto car. But I was just going to ask you how it was working with him.
It was good. I mean, obviously, he was at the end of his career, so it wasn't like we were winning races or anything. We did qualify good. Sometimes we'd have like an R&D engine from the Yates package, and he could park it in the corners, just step on the gas, and just blow right by everybody down the straightaway. But it was cool to sit around during a rain delay and listen to his stories. That was the biggest thing. That was awesome. Just listening to that guy tell stories. I mean, we on the air. Well, he didn't fly with us only a couple times when we go testing or something. But just sitting there listening to stories was just something that everybody would love to be able to do.
I can
And I was
imagine. So
fortunate.
we had Jeff Hammond on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about whenever Junior hired Darrell, he didn't like Darrell. He didn't want him to be the driver over there, But then look how much success they ended up having together through their years.
Yeah.
And of course he ended up liking him, but at first he didn't. Through the Jaws years, that stuff.
Yeah. It was cool. I mean, I've worked with a lot of good drivers out there. Had a lot of good success, but it was cool just listening to his stories.
Could you tell us your favorite driver?
Favorite
Well,
driver growing up?
not necessarily.
Favorite driver growing up was Jeff Gordon. I remember being downstairs. I don't know, maybe playing Nintendo or playing pool or something downstairs in the basement. And my dad came downstairs and said, "Hey, Darin, there's a new driver coming into NASCAR, Jeff Gordon. He's supposed to be sliced bread." And so I started following him, and then obviously he started winning, so it was really easy to like him. But that was my guy was Jeff Gordon growing up. And it was kind of cool now, like working in the sport with him was kind of cool. I was glad that I was in the sport back in the day. I mean, Earnhardt was still alive racing. It was good because it's changed a lot, and obviously you have to adapt with change to be able to continue to have success. But it was good back in the day when we would have qualifying engines, race engines, practice engines. I mean, we would work from the track from 7 a.m. or sometimes 6 a.m. till 6, 7 at night. I mean, and there was no breaks. There was grab something quick when you run into the truck off the counter, and you're right back at it. So I was happy that I was in the sport back when we were just thrashing for 3 days straight the whole time we were there, and everybody had multiple jobs. So it was good to have that kind of history with myself.
Sure.
So
I always liked Jeff Gordon too. Whenever he first started out, around 1990 or so is whenever he really started getting into like the Baby Ruth car, the one car, and I think he drove some Carolina Ford too. But anyway, I go see him at certain tracks. The The first time I met him though was I was standing at a Porta John, probably around 1996, and he come up and stood behind me, and I was like, "You go ahead." I don't remember what track we were at. It was one of the, at Darlington or somewhere, I guess. And he's like, "No, go ahead." He insisted that I go, and right quick, whatever. I said, "I'll be quick, just in and out, whatever." But still.
Yeah, that's what memories are made of right there.
Well, I know the ladies like Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
The ladies liked him.
Mm-hmm. So did some men. But anyway, what were you going to say?
Not for the same reasons.
No. A similar thing happened to my brother when he was at New Hampshire, where he was waiting in line for the John, and I can't remember who it was. But they're like, no, go ahead. And he's like, no, seriously, you got to be out there for the race. He's like, go ahead. And I can't remember who it was, but he was so ecstatic that he was even just talking to a driver.
Yeah.
So I saw Jeff Gordon for the first time ever last Sunday at Darlington because William Byron won the race. So him and Rick came in and did a press conference in the media center, and we're standing outside there. I was just kind of waiting around. I thought, well, it'll be a while before they get here. They got to go to Victory Lane and do all that stuff. And we're standing out here, and I'm kind of – the racetrack's quiet now, and it's kind of cool because the lights have come on and all the stands are empty, and it's just – guys are packing up, and here comes this golf cart, and it's Jeff Gordon and Rick Hendrick, and I was just like, starstruck. I mean, like, man, these are the guys right here, and they just, walked on in and just, kind of talking around to people like, just normal people. It's just,
you say hey to him?
Yeah, but I'm sure it was kind of awkward, but to me it was like fuzzy, like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to Jeff Gordon, but it was just one of them things, hey, congrats on the win, and just went on his way. But
that shirt you were wearing, cool. It said 1992. It was a Winston Cup Series, right?
Yeah.
And hold on, Trace. Anyway, I had that shirt up until a few years ago.
Did you really?
My dad used to get these shirts whenever he would get Winston cigarettes or whatever. He'd get cigarettes, and they would come with T-shirts. Like if you bought a carton, and that's where he would get all these shirts. And I don't know what I did. I think I gave a lot of mine away.
Yeah.
Should have kept them.
Those are good T-shirts to have nowadays. I saw a couple other people with the same shirt on. It was from the Wilkesboro race in 1992, but it had I don't know who was driving the Kodak car that year, but it had
I see what Paul said.
It had that car, and Dale was on there, and I think Richard Petty was on there.
Yeah.
But it's a cool T-shirt.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you're talking about the bathroom, David. Paul Rodriguez says Jeff didn't trust you behind him.
Yes. Well, I was kind of saying my uncle was Jeff Gordon fan, which, anyway.
Which uncle?
Mom's brother.
Oh, which one? Okay.
Yeah, yes. That one. Okay.
You didn't have to do that.
Well, you didn't get
brothers.
the hint. I mean, come on now. Anyway.
I didn't get it.
All right. There was a song about that. Anyway, go ahead, Darin. Continue. It's your show. You just take over the show. I got to put the shovel down.
Look how red David turns. So cute.
Put the shovel down, David. We'll move on.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
I'm just picking. Mm-hmm. So your last year in racing was last year then, right? That
Correct.
was your last full-time year. So you were around during like the Car Tomorrow days, and then obviously through like the first year of the next gen.
Yeah.
So what is that? You talked about like before having the different engines for qualifying and that kind of stuff. How does that change, happen or affect you guys as a team? Like how do you adapt to that, and how big of a change really is it? I know last year was a big change. How does it affect you guys?
Yeah, I would say once we got away with doing qualifying engines just to the race engines, obviously it was a big thing for the engine shop to make sure it was going to last all race. But then NASCAR started putting us in such a tight box with our engine parts. Everything had to be weighted, tolerances, all that. So they kind of made it easy as far as building an engine, but they made it harder to try and find that big power because of all the restrictions that they had with us. It made it easier at the racetrack, but if I'm at the racetrack, I would rather be busy from the time I get there to the time I leave. So there was a little bit more standing around. There's a lot more standing around nowadays, just the way that the NASCAR does each series at the racetrack. So they try and go from one series to the next with the group of people they have at the racetrack. So there's a lot more standing around. which I didn't really enjoy very much.
Yeah.
I love to eat, so I would eat nonstop like a horse. So I'm sure I'm still trying to lose a few lbs from from the last couple of years of having
Funnel
extra
cakes.
every
Something
time,
like
extra
Nothing
time
like
at
a
the
racetrack hot
racetrack.
dog, yeah.
Yeah. But no, it was I would rather be busier. It was different, but it was nice having all that extra stuff to do at the racetrack.
Yeah. Well, and
Time go faster.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
and not as many people travel with the teams anymore, right? Did that?
No, they do a restriction on that, so they
Really?
only have a limited amount. I don't know what the exact number is, but before there was no limit, so you would just bring everybody,
Right.
extra guys for certain tracks, and then now they've kind of limited. So the first year they did that actually was, I think, the first year of COVID, a few years back. So you pretty much had to have an all-star crew, everybody that can do different positions. Everybody was well-rounded and knew everything about a race car. So me as just an engine tuner, I could jump underneath the car, I could do front end mechanic, I could jump inside and do interior, and that was how everybody else was. Car chief, he could do mostly everything on the car. Our interior guy was / tire guy / he knew everything mechanic wise also. So it was kind of an all-star crew, which made it more enjoyable to know that they had full trust in you to work on every part and piece of the car. But that's how I've always been. Is I want to learn everything I can to
Yeah.
make myself more rounded and valuable.
Yeah. Well, that's I guess that's probably more valuable today than ever, really.
Yeah.
Since with the limited number that can come to the racetrack, it's to be one of those guys that gets to go and have that responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility, I'm sure, but it's also a good thing that you kind of know that you're.
Even during and I keep saying COVID, which I hate saying that, but during that first year of COVID, they really restricted our personnel. So I was tuning on all 3 Penske cars.
Really?
So I would have to jump from one car to the next, and we would basically show up and just race. We wouldn't have to practice or anything, but I would have to do all 3 cars. I did have a little bit of help from one of the guys at the engine shop where he would go spin oil on the last car for me. So by the time I got to that car, I was ready to roll. So I just fire it up, program it, and be good. But you pretty much nowadays just have to have an all-star crew working on the car.
I remember when they cut it back to 12 at one time, and that was about 5 years ago, probably 4 years maybe.
Yeah.
And then they were trying to save money was the whole deal.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it was like you could be at Daytona or Talladega, and you could be flying in some more people because you needed body guys coming.
Well, you'd have an extra plane coming down with just people from the fab shop in case something happened.
Yeah.
So you'd have a lot of people just kind of hanging out until that 911 hit, and then it was just thrashing. But now, because of the limited personnel, you have to know body stuff too. There was, Brad Daytona, he was going out for practice, cut the corner too sharp, ripped the whole side of the car off. It ripped everything, the jack post, everything. And we didn't really have the body crew or anything like we used to there. So everybody on the team, everybody jumped in. Even the crew chief had his tongue hanging out, doing a little bondo here and there. But yeah, it's good. I like things like that. Obviously not wrecking, but I like when you have more to do at the racetrack than not.
You were at Penske, I guess, when Brad won Indy? Did he win Indy? I'm trying to remember. He won at somewhere. He came to the shop one time and he said, okay, if I get the pole for the Daytona 500 or I win Indy, I'm going to come through and randomly give out $10,000. Okay. And then I swear.
Randomly.
He did win. He won it with the Busch car, and that I'm almost positive he won with the Cup car.
Yeah, I was thinking
I wasn't on the 2 car at that time, but
right.
I'm almost positive.
Bryson's going to look it up.
Yeah.
Because I just remember that, because I remember thinking, all right, he didn't follow through.
It must have been after he got married.
He didn't win, or you weren't there that day.
Yeah, so Brad, if you're listening, you didn't follow through. And I'm probably the only one that remembers that, but I just remember we had a big team meeting, and he told us that, and then I just planted it in my brain, and just because I was like, oh, well, why not just take that and split it up amongst the 100 guys, and we each get, how much is that, Tracy?
A little bit.
$100.
2018 is when that's the last time he won.
He won at Indy, right?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, that's it. So there, I was right. He won Indy, and he didn't give me my $10,000. So I would have went out in the hallway and said, "Here I am, right here." This guy,
He
I always like
on
Brad.
the oval too, of course.
Yeah, Brad's a good dude. When Brad is focused and on it and has that drive, nobody can beat him.
True.
I mean, he's very good.
Yeah, he would actually come into the engine shop and he'd go over there and start looking at the pistons and stuff. I mean, he was just very inquisitive on things.
I do that's one thing I really liked about Brad was he was very knowledgeable. If he didn't know, he would ask like crew guys, or he would make the people around him better in knowing how to ask a question, to where if you didn't know it, then you were going to go back and find out. So then you were knowledgeable about it, and then you could even fill him in, or if he asked someone else about it. But he always had that way of asking certain questions to challenge people around him, crew guys, crew chief, whoever it was. And it made him a smarter person just by asking those questions. Mm-hmm. So that's what I liked about him. Kurt Busch was a lot similar. He always wanted to know what was going on. I know him very well personally, working with him at Penske, his guys that work for him, and everything that he would have going on, whether it was a hot rod or something in his shop, or Jesse would build whatever it was, any kind of toy or rail buggy or something, he would always be included in all the decision making. It wasn't just a guy that had millions of dollars that was like, "Hey, build me a Jeep Cherokee with a supercharger on it," and then boom, it's done. He goes, drives it around. He wanted to be included in all the decision making, so he kind of knew. Mm-hmm. And that's what I liked about Brad, Kurt, a lot of the older guys. Some of them didn't have a whole lot of mechanical ability, but they wanted to have the knowledge to try and put it forth and have some kind of hands in the project,
and
which was nice. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some drivers that they don't even know what a 9/16 wrench is that I've worked with. They just know how to drive a car, and that's it. And I don't think they ever really wanted to learn how to use a wrench. But it's fine. I mean, they could drive a race car, and it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Show up and get in the car.
That seems to be a recurring pattern too, with a lot of young kids that are like a lot of these guys, and you know, there still are some out there that really work hard. But even coming up through the late model, you know, level, with a lot of development teams that we see come through Hickory, it's some of these drivers are, you know, just they know how to drive the car really well, but it's like they don't seem very eager to learn what's really going on inside of it. And I think that's okay until you have to relay to your crew what's wrong with the car and what seems to be a problem, and you know, that may slow the process of getting faster, you know.
Yeah.
So then that becomes kind of maybe an issue. But yeah, those guys, I've heard that about Kurt. I think that's a big important trait to have.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So David, what was the 3-letter synonym that we talked about this weekend?
The 3-letter synonym that we talked about this weekend.
Don't say what it was.
ACP. It's a Mexican
D.
restaurant food.
Started with a D. Started with a D.
Daughters of the American Revolution.
You're being stupid.
D. Give me another initial. Oh. Ooh. What does that look for?
Because you know.
Okay.
It's an engine. Started with a D.
Come on, give me another hint. I mean, I talk about engines is like every day, every hour
Something
of the day.
that I said I knew what it was.
Oh, okay. You knew what cam degree in a cam?
Started with a D.
You don't remember?
letters.
Distributor?
No. It's three word what?
3 letters.
3 letters, starts
That
with a
means
D.
something.
And
DLC.
I
said,
coding.
I bet you no woman knows what this means.
What is it, Tracy?
Well, you asked what a cram. You thought a camshaft with a crankshaft.
Never mind.
I'm just kidding.
You're
You
just
didn't.
being stupid.
No, what is it? Tell us. I mean,
The
you're.
first word's dead.
Oh, top dead center.
There you go.
The first word's dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Top. She would have said dead top center because that's the way her brain's like dyslexic or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
Okay, good for you. Top dead center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
This is
thank you for
3-letter
that.
synonym.
I feel so much better now. TDC. Yeah, I was degree in a cam, so she was
Yeah.
being very inquisitive about my degree in the cam ability.
Well, he was just impressed that I knew what it meant.
Yeah, sure.
I'm actually impressed too.
I'm not going to ask her what it actually means, but that's okay.
My wife, if the check engine light comes on, she'd probably open the hood, be like, "Yep, engine there, check," and then shut it.
Check your engine. That's what
Well,
she
see,
did.
I was good when I was a kid because I could hear a car and tell you what was wrong with it. Could I fix it? No, but could I tell you what was wrong
Well,
with
that's
it?
half the battle is just knowing that there is a problem.
Yeah.
That's what I try and tell my son. Well, I was raised, my dad taught me, he said, if you're going to ride dirt bikes, you're going to learn how to work on it because I'm not going to do it all the time. So if you're going to have a toy, you're going to know how to work on it.
Exactly.
So he came out one side, I had a three-wheeler, Honda three-wheeler, and I had the whole engine all apart. And he came outside and his face was like, "What are you doing?" I couldn't have been probably 12 years old. And he's like, "You better know how to put that thing back together." But I took some cardboard and I would draw on it and I'd keep the bolts with certain things. So it was just smoking and needed rings and valve job. So yeah, took it apart, put it back together, ran it.
And it ran good afterwards.
Yeah, everything was good.
Yeah, good.
All right. That's cool. I had a 3-wheeler too.
Top
Honda.
dead center.
Yeah, you got it right that time. It's,
Yeah.
what's a 3-letter word? It starts with dead.
It's not a word. It was a synonym.
Synonym, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Top dead
Close
center.
enough. All right. So Josephus asked the question, and Tracy answered it right there on YouTube.
Sure did.
Yep. How did Darin get into racing and being a motor guy? And he said he raced as a kid and went to college.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of banging on doors and making sure that I'm in people's heads so when they had an opening that I was able to get hired. Yeah.
Paul says this reminds him of the movie My Cousin Vinny. Yeah.
What about it?
There's a certain part in the
Everybody knows that. What did she say? The double traction, posi
Yes.
rear end.
Yeah.
Has a posi track rear end, and she starts talking about it. Everybody knows that particular car didn't have a positive traction because it didn't come out until the next year or something like that. It was a long thing. She went off
Such
on
a good
about
movie.
It. Yeah, that was great. It's an acronym too, by the way, Dickie Dennis. That's where I was getting confused.
Yeah,
like,
you said synonym. I was Googling because I knew it was something else. I Googled figures of speech because I was trying to figure out what it was called.
Thank you,
But I
Dickie.
know it
Keeping
wasn't a
y'all on your
synonym.
toes. That's all.
When you said synonym,
See if you're paying attention.
what's a synonym is like two words that are
Similar.
alike, This is bad because I'm in school too.
Yeah, synonym. I always remember synonym, similar.
I hope
Sort of like that.
I hope Mr. Jones is not listening.
So, yeah. All right. I want to ask if you got any funny stories from being at the track or at the shop or whatever. Like, I was talking to one of my friends today at work. And we were talking about the old
You have
Sapco
friends?
days, and believe it or not, and we were talking about how one of the guys, an engine builder, one of the guys went in, and he, we used to get uniforms. All right. This is one thing y'all may not realize. Well, Bryson knows because his dad works at a place.
I have a connection to the uniform business,
That's all right. His dad works at a uniform company. So, and speaking of, you need to get me some uniforms. Anyway,
Yeah, we'll work on that.
whenever we would get uniforms, they would wash them for us. The company, you'd take them in there, throw them in a bin. Well, one of the guys that I worked with, he took his and he'd fill out one of those tags and it would say what you needed. And he had filled out a tag saying he needed to change his pant size. Maybe extra girth, whatever. He would, and so whenever he left, the guys, these two brothers worked there at Sapco with me. They went in there and they grabbed it back out and they refilled it out.
Smaller.
And they made it 4 inches wider in the waist and 5 inches shorter in the length. So he got his pants and they changed all of them and brought them back. And he comes walking in there with his pants on like high waters. And he was so mad. He's like, "Can you believe what these guys did to me?"
I didn't understand what you meant.
That's great.
He blamed it on the uniform company,
That's funny.
Yeah, stuff like that. And if you got any of those kind of funny stories, I mean, you go to the racetrack and
Yeah, there was always a lot of joking around. I swear some of the funniest people that I've ever raced with was actually back in the Travis Carter days with Donnie Wingo, Larry Carter, all those guys, because they would always play pranks. They would even get to a point where they would drill a hole in the exhaust, or it was a catalytic converter in the muffler, and just squirt as much transmission fluid inside as they could. So when they start going down the road, it doesn't start smoking until everything gets hot. But then it just blows white smoke right out the exhaust system, where you're not going to get lost because you could just turn around and follow your smoke trail back to the racetrack. But just a lot of putting rocks in hubcaps, putting zip ties around drive shafts, so when they go down the road, it's just ticking and making a whole bunch of noise. I mean, there was a lot of pranking in the shop also. So if someone was to bring family members or friends to the shop, they get on the PA system and just say, Mark was bringing his family through. They'd come on there and say, Mark, attention, Mark, the stall number 2 is plugged up again. Could you please grab your plunger and head to stall 2? I mean, just stuff like that. It was, you're always doing something. Yes. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember doing that over at Roush Yates also.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody got there, you needed to bring the mop bucket to the bathroom or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes you couldn't leave your computer. Couldn't leave your computer open, because then there would be emails going passed around that you weren't writing, but someone was writing for you. And just cause a whirlwind in the shop.
Yeah, I remember one of the guys that I worked with, he took and so this was toward the end of the Sabco Ganassi was buying in kind of thing. So we were kind of, as engine guys, we were on our way out. So he took and to tell one of the guys, you know, congratulations, his last day, whatever. He took and before he left, the guy that was leaving took and silicone. He took all this guy's tools and threw them in a cabinet, and then silicone the cabinets shut where he couldn't get them open. But that was in retaliation for his tools being silicone down on the bench. Like he could silicone them all down on the bench. And I had this good friend, Ray. He always carried his coffee cup around. Always had his coffee cup. And so he would set it down. When he would finally set it down somewhere, I took lacquer thinner one time and sprayed it on there and set the coffee cup on it, and it just melted down to like a half a cup.
The plastic.
It was a styrofoam. Yeah, and he would just keep reusing these styrofoam cups every day, and it's like, you know, that cup's got to be bound with bacteria by now. Yeah. So he come walking up to me with a half a cup, and he's like, why would somebody do this? You know who would have done this? I can't believe they did that. No. I was like, I have no idea, Ray. I'm sorry.
Time for a new one.
I'll try to get you another cup, whatever. Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm surprised you didn't turn red and start laughing.
Yeah, well, you know, he was also the same guy that every time. Well, not every time. Everything was a conspiracy. There was one time we had the fire alarm went off in the shop, and the fire department came, and he come up to me. He's like, "You see, I saw one of those guys. I've seen him. He worked at Hendrick, I believe. I think he's over here spying on us. You think he's over here spying on us somewhere? It's the fire department. Come on, man."
There was some people that were like that back in the day. Everything was so secretive. Mm-hmm. There's. I mean, even now, even at Penske, because they have that walkway across the top, that there would be people from other teams that would come, and you could point them out. No problem, because they have a nice camera and they're zooming in. So then we had to turn our cars around facing the other way so they weren't taking pictures under the hood. But yeah, it went on a lot, actually.
I've wondered about that before at Penske, because they got that nice catwalk. You can go over and walk down, and you can see in there. And I've had to go over and work
spying on us.
I'd have to.
Gotcha.
Yes. Well, you know, I did see some things. Of course, I was over to work on engines. Yeah. But I'd see things like the brake caliper would be down on the bottom of the. You know, I'm like, wow, that's a good idea. Actually, you know, move some weight lower. You know, and we did certain things with the engines to help that too as well. But statute of limitations is not over, so I won't talk about that.
Yeah. Right. Don't elaborate.
No, I'm not going to elaborate. So. Good stuff, though. So, what you want to talk about your business some more?
Yeah, sure. We've actually been really busy, but we have 30-yarders and we have 20-yard trailers, which have rubber tires, so we can get in tight spots, don't tear up any driveways. Mm-hmm. Drop it off. You call us when it's full. We'll empty and return it, or empty it, and if you're done with it, we'll final it.
Okay.
So
that's rapid removal to dumpster. Well. What do you actually call them?
Debris bins. Okay. Debris dumpsters. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and the phone number is 704-507-7833. Give us a call, and we'll take care of you. Whether you need it for construction, household clean out, whatever it is, we got something for you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Very good. Bryson, you got anything?
Well, not really.
What's the next race you're going to?
Well, we thought about going to the 600, which we've. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think we're going to spend Memorial Day up on the New River. I think we're going to. We had a long week at Wilkesboro, so I think it'll be good to take a little break. Now I know I'm not there every week like you were, so it's probably kind of sissy for me to tap out already. But no, I think we're going to go spend Memorial Day up there. But I'm not sure as far as NASCAR goes. Now we'll be at Hickory every weekend, so which has been really good. I wasn't able to go Saturday night, and we had a lot of action that happened at Hickory Saturday night. So a lot of drama, a lot of just incidents on the racetrack that are going to be good for the racetrack as far as bringing the fans out, because they will. I mean, now it's blowed up on Twitter what happened, and we had an incident where Landon Huffman, who's the track champion last year, he's pretty popular because of the stuff that he does on YouTube. He's got a pretty good following. A lot of people come to watch him race. But he raced last year for the championship. He raced Annabeth Barnes for the championship. I think she finished second in points, second or third. And those two are usually battling, pretty hard and racing each other pretty well. Well, week before last, Landon and Annabeth had about a 30-lap battle going on and raced each other clean, and it was really good. This week, Annabeth wasn't too pleased, I guess, with the way that Landon had been racing her, which was clean if you go back and watch the race. I mean, it's tight racing, but it's, short track racing. And she had lost him. I think he had passed her on the outside, and after a little bit of bumping and banging, and she cut back across the racetrack. Not exactly sure of her intentions, obviously, there, but they didn't look the greatest. And she spun out off of turn number 4, and then the caution flag came out, and she came back and wrecked Landon under caution, which is just really dangerous and something that can't happen. So following that, there was a fight on the spotter stand between the two spotters of the teams. So it was definitely a short track Saturday night to remember. Yeah. But it's we'll go through the week and find out if any. I'm sure there'll be some kind of penalties or something. Either way, though, it's going to bring the fans out. Fans are going to come out this weekend, I'm sure.
Sounds like a night in the madhouse.
Yeah, and
sounds like in the second race at Martinsville. I swear, my favorite race is the fall Martinsville race, because the last race for getting into the final. Oh, yeah. And if there is anybody that had any kind of scuffle with anybody throughout the year, and they have a spitting chance of getting into the championship, and the other person doesn't, you see a lot of retaliation at Martinsville. Well, it's kind of how Bristol used to be.
Yeah, we saw it with Chastain and Hamlin last year. They had a pretty tight going, and we've actually went the last 2 years. We plan on going back again this year because, me and my dad, and we go to a lot of races, but the last 2 years have been really good, and then last year with Ross obviously pulling off that move. But before that, Hamlin, Danny was trying to race his way in as well, and he wasn't cutting Ross any slack, and it was a good battle between them two. But yeah, that's the way it's been at Hickory. And one more thing, we'll have Chase Elliott and William Byron, Carson Hocevar, and a couple other big names are coming to race Thursday night this week. So nice. That'll be pretty cool. And
of course, we saw it with the Kansas versus Logano years ago.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that started at Kansas, right? And then Kansas. I remember that. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Martinsville's a good place.
Yep. I also want to mention, September 9th, and that is the Moonshiners and Racers reunion up at Mount Airy. I know Bill Blair usually is watching, and he can't always comment on YouTube, but Bill Blair he went to his first race in 1940. So his dad won in Daytona in 1953. But he's a big part of this Moonshiners and Racers reunion. You should go up there, check it out. It's a really cool deal.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll have like a dinner on Friday night, and then the Saturday is like there'll be like a parade of the older cars. They're all lined out in the streets of Mount Airy, and it's a big showing. A lot of people there getting autographs from Bobby Allison, Donnie Allison, and it's just a bunch
David
of people
Hamm.
there. Yeah, we were there doing that for Racing Roots, and yeah, a lot of people that go out there. And then the other thing, this Saturday there's a Mac Tools at the Trackhouse Motorplex. You know where Trackhouse Motorplex is? Used to be GoPro.
Yep.
But I guess they lost that sponsorship now. It's
They
Trackhouse.
changed the name.
Yeah, they did. And that's Saturday from 12 to 8. Our friend Walt Sova, he is the Mac Tool man now. And they're going to have food trucks, tool deals, kids activities, and product demos, all kinds of stuff there. So he tunes into the show. He actually knew me the first time I went on the Mac Tool truck, and he mentioned that he watches the show. So I thought that was cool.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
he lives out near us too. So
Okay.
yeah, in the
Nice.
Statesville area. But yeah. Well, did you have any parting words for our friends? Anything you wanted to talk about? Have you back sometime?
It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and
man.
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it was good
I
to see you
appreciate it.
again. And
Yeah.
maybe we'll have you come back sometime. And hopefully your business is going to do really well. I'm sure it will. No doubt about it.
Yeah, we're growing like crazy. So
What made you decide to do that business?
I was actually fortunate enough that my old neighbor, that one that was building our house, our friend, he had the business, and he was a contractor also, and just need to simplify his life, I guess, and asked me if I wanted to buy it. And I just could not sleep all night. So the next morning I texted him. I said, if you're serious about selling it, I'm serious about buying it. And everything worked out. And I've grown it since then, and was able to get out of racing and have more of a normal life and hang out with my family, watch my kids grow. That was the biggest reason of getting out of racing was just to be the best dad I possibly could and watch my family grow. That was the biggest thing. But because I love racing, I still do. I mean, if I was still single and didn't have kids, I would still be in racing. Mm-hmm. But it was just time to be a dad and a husband. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, racing takes a lot of time.
It does. Yeah, we were gone a lot. So, but I enjoyed every second of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to go to Sonoma, just to keep my toes in the water.
Yeah.
That's next month. So
Yeah, coming around.
it'll be good. Yeah.
We're actually taking a trip with my cousin to California, but we're going to be on the southern part the same weekend of Sonoma.
Oh, really?
So we'll be watching it on TV. But
Nice.
but yeah, that's a cool place. That'll be cool.
It's a nice area too. All the wineries, and you're close to the ocean. You're close to the mountains. I got a lot of friends that live out that way, so whenever I go out that way, I'm able to see some friends, which is good.
That's good. That's good. So you're going to be doing the same thing that you had been doing previously, or you?
Yeah, and it's actually working with the Wood Brothers. So I was
okay.
on the Wood Brothers team, still working at Penske. Was tuning on the 21 car when Ryan Blaney was driving the 21 car. So that was kind of fun. It was actually a lot of fun. Len, Eddie, the whole Wood Brother family are just a great group of people. Really, really good group of people. So it was really cool working with them and the history that family has. It was really cool, and it actually made me think that I probably should have hung on to a lot more memorabilia throughout my years of racing. I was fortunate enough to have a shirt, like a crew shirt from each year that I was in racing, and my mom made shadow boxes and frames, and now that I have a big garage, it's kind of my man cave, so I'm able to hang all of those shirts up and just reflect on the great career that I had in racing. And so it'll be good going to Sonoma with the Wood Brothers and helping them out.
Yeah, the iconic team, man.
Yeah.
These are great guys.
Chasing that 100th
sure.
win. That maybe Sonoma's the
It
place.
would be nice.
That
it
would be cool.
nice. Yeah. Yeah. It was nice getting that Pocono win with Blaney there.
Yeah.
For the 99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, yeah. Thanks again for coming in and seeing us. And next week we're going to take off. We're just going to take off for Memorial Day.
Yeah.
You hear that, Bryson?
Yeah.
No
I
show.
heard you.
No
Loud
show
and clear.
next Monday. No show, Christian. And so yeah, we're going to enjoy the Memorial Day and take a little break.
Contemplating what we're going to do.
Yep. And then I'm going to work on where you want to go on a trip or something. Probably.
Oh, I mean, I was kind of, sort of, maybe no. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
If
Let's
I
don't
did, it'd
plan
be
anything.
local.
Okay, good. Local's good. Yes. And thanks everybody for tuning in on the YouTube channel there. And if you like this video, hit the like button if you would, please. And we'll see y'all next time.
And subscribe.
And everybody have a great week. Yeah, sure. Subscribe if you'd like. and that way you can stay tuned to every Monday evening. We have a new guest from the racing world tell us their stories, their path, their racing roots.
And hit that bell for notifications.
There you go. All right. Have a great week.
This is Real Country, broadcasting from the